Hello everybody and welcome to episode 2 of this Commodore scenario playthrough. Right, picking up from the end of the last video, I made one or two mistakes when I planned the routes of the trains. I forgot to tick one or two of the platforms, so I've quickly amended them off screen. And I also mentioned going towards Buffalo for that specific task. We can have a quick look at that now. We have to transport 1,000 passengers from New York to Buffalo without stopping within the first 48 months. Now there's not that many passengers that actually want to go to Buffalo from New York at the moment. If we quickly have a look at New York, where are we? If we look at the express goods on the right hand side here, it will show us exactly who wants to go where. So we currently have 14 passengers per week wanting to head towards Albany, and only 4 at the moment that want to go towards Buffalo. There are a few things we can do to make more people want to go that way, but we'll talk about them when we get to it. So we're going to unpause the game and just follow this train, our wheat train. We'll follow that into New York. I seem to be having problems with my mouse on this game, where the middle mouse button doesn't register. I'm pressing it. I've had the same issue on City Skylines. I don't know if that's my mouse or what. I presume it's my mouse. So at the moment we've got a really dry angle of this, here we go. There we go, that looks better, doesn't it? The graphics are really cute on this game. You can probably hear my fans running away in the background. I'm pushing my graphics card pretty hard. It's not the best one, it's only an R9 to 85, but I have got it overclocked quite nicely. Right, so back to this game, we're going to be expanding a little bit more in this section. We want to really maximise our profits in this area. You can see all these full trains scooting about. That's money in the bank. Every time they dock, they're going to be pretty much making as much as they possibly can. Now, what we're going to be doing next is adding a milk line in, and this is going to feed milk to Baltimore and New York. If we look at New York's demand for milk, we can see that it's only half a unit per week. So we can probably get away with stretching one train to do the journey for both of them, and that will probably work out about right. Quickly look at our staff member we've got. Right, so this guy is for a passenger train. And the beauty of separating our trains out like this is when we get a member of staff with a specific bonus, like for mail or for passengers like this guy, we can just put them straight on a train of their type and we make the most out of them. And the more money you make quicker, the more you can reinvest it, and it's an accumulative effect where you kind of expand bigger and bigger, like quicker and quicker. So any sort of potential loss of profits can harm you quite a lot in the long term. So once we've got enough money to place this station, we will. What we're trying to do here is we're going to have a switch up here, so a wheat train can leave. It can pass through the milk station and then hook onto this main line before the bridge and go towards New York. And then of course we do have another route then, because this milk station is also going to lead this way. We do have another route to between New York and Baltimore. So if we have a random breakdown or something like that and we want to really micromanage, we can quickly nip in, and any train that's in this sort of area waiting to go this way, we can quickly tell them to take a detour. Yeah, in a sort of section like this where you've only got 12 trains, that sort of stuff is quite doable. But I think like when you've got 200 trains, you'd probably be pausing the game like every game day and spending 30 minutes optimizing things and then advancing like one day. I'm sure there's going to be someone out there that does that, but I don't think that's going to make the best YouTube video. Right, so we're going to throw in this station quickly for the milk, and we're going to position it just about here. So we need a little bit more money before we link up this track. The way we're going to be expanding is the second we've got the money to do something that's going to return us a profit, we're going to be doing it right away. Right, so coming out of this station, we're going to head down towards here. Now, there's not that much of a distance between this station, this switch, and this switch down here. So we do want to make sure that we put the switch from this station in the right position, because like I say, there's not that much room to do it. What we want to be able to do is trap the perfect length of a full train with the largest engine on the front, because some of the engines are longer than others. We want to be able to trap that sort of in between two signals, right where the switches are. So if we look at where this switch is, this signal is here, so we won't really be choosing our next switch to be here. Oh. Okay, that didn't go to plan. Right, so that's what we're after. And then it gives us the perfect sort of distance here to trap one train in between them two. And then we can do the same thing again and have a line branching around and joining on. And then obviously we've got the same distance again up the top here. You can't have that many switches and sort of merging points on one piece of track. If you do, you start blocking it up, and then you get this sort of massive chain of trains. None of them can move because you've got one train which is kind of stuck on a signal and it's halfway across a switch, and of course that then blocks the train wanting to go the other way. Right, so that one's in there. We're going to now branch this off towards the milk factory, or the milk resource, I should say. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this line down, and this is just going to give us a bit more space when it comes to setting this line in here, which is going to head up towards the wheat farm there. So we don't want any nasty bridges. I think about there is good. So we'll just let the game run for a second or two and get that money. It is a shame actually that when you're laying track like this you can't press the spacebar. Someone did mention that on the Steam forums. I didn't really understand what they meant at the time, and now I do, because it would be handy to let the game run whilst you're, whilst you're laying a track, especially when you've got it on a manual pause mode. I mean, it's like, it's not actually manual, is it? If it's like you can't do this but you can't do that. Right, so anyway, here we go. That is about fine. That actually looks quite sweet as well, and I think getting the game to look nice is part of the fun. Right, so we're also going to be doing the same thing down here, so let's go ahead and do that. Now the longest train is about 9 miles, so as long as from your signal you can lay a dummy piece of track, and in the top right hand corner here on the track construction it will tell you how far you've gone. So once you get to 9 meters, you know at that point you can put in another signal, and likewise you can then put in the switch. Now this next piece of track is going to be touch and go, I think, whether we've got enough distance. Oh, actually no, it should be fine. Yeah, it's fine because we can creep up this way. Right, I'm not so sure about that sort of weird incline there. How does that look? It looks bad. It needs to be smooth. Is that enough room? 17 miles. By the time we put in 2 switches, it's going to be touch and go. That'll do. So let the game run again. So we can now put in our milk train. And then whilst that's running off towards New York doing the first drop, we can then fix the piece of track down here and loop it into the main line. And then the next thing we can do is also add a wheat train to feed New York, because Baltimore, because Baltimore is demanding. They call it grain, but for some reason I just can't get the word wheat out of my head whenever I mention that resource on this game. So a new train line, the milk, it's going to go from Nolan Breeden to New York for the time being. We are going to amend this line once we've got that new piece of track laid, and we will then also include Baltimore into the mix. Oh, actual fact, I think they've just patched this. Before the latest patch, when you change this setting over here, it reset the settings up on this in the station edits, and it still does, so maybe they haven't patched it yet. I just thought it would be handy if it left these things defaulted when you press these buttons. Right, so that's done. Did I do platform 2 in New York? Yes. So let's call this one New York and Baltimore Milk. We had our locomotive. Just notice we've got a member of staff as well. This guy's a security guard. So we're going to put him on the train that makes the most money, and that will get the most out of the bonus, the 5% bonus. Obviously 5% on 3,000 is more than, say, 5% on 2,000. So whenever you get a staff member, that's really how you want to prioritise how you place them. That obviously goes, it's different if you've got two members of staff that like each other and they'll give each other an additional boost, then you might want to put them on a different train. Right, so we're going to put him on the cattle. I was losing my way a bit there, sorry about that. Security guard onto the cattle train. I presume that this cattle train is going to make the most money. Generally, you know, Baltimore's pretty much always going to be wanting cattle, so that train should be running all of the time. Right, so we've got a milk train on. Next thing we can do is loop the track down into the main line. Now the one thing to note here is that this station is going to expand south, so I don't want to just hook a line in like this, because then I'm going to have to try and double track it from a point, which is really awkward, and then you have to sort of end up deleting the track, and then there's a train on it and you can't because the object's in use and all blah blah blah. So the way to do this is just where you choose your switch point, you lay the switch, and then you just put in a small section of track parallel, and then we're going to take the track from here up to the station. And that way, when we want to double track this and expand as the station expands southwards, we've already got the track there and we don't have to worry about deleting pieces. In a manual pause mode, that probably isn't so much of a bother, but when you're playing Trainiac, doing this and spending an extra 10 seconds laying that bit of track saves you so much hassle when you want to expand. So think of them sort of things. You can kind of make life easy on yourself, or easier. Right, so we do just need to quickly worry about our signals. Whenever you lay a new piece of track, you want to make sure that you don't have a signal like this one, where if a full train comes up here, it's going to stop on this signal, or it could potentially stop on this signal and then block this switch, and that's when you get these massive traffic jams and that sort of stuff. So we'll quickly add these switches in like this. Just another one here, just to let this train coming this way stop at this point and not all the way back at the station. We want to get rid of this one, that's a problem. Move it down to say here. Once again, really, you could get really panicky as to where they are and get a piece of track out and draw it like, oh, it's exactly 9 miles from there. In actual fact, in this game, if you hold the control button when you're placing a signal, it will do auto signals, and they always seem like a completely random distance apart. It would be a nice little feature if you had an option where you could set your own auto signals. So say you wanted to do a piece of track where you knew that the trains are always going to be empty, you could auto signal them, say at only, you know, four carriages apart or 3 carriages apart. Anyway, it's not that important. So we'll finish off these switches. This one would wait. This one would wait. This guy is a little bit too far back. Some people seem to really struggle with these switches, but they're not really that complicated. I'm sure if you play around in the game for a few days, you'll soon get used to them. Child's play, really it is. Pretty easy. Right, so there we go. We've now got our switches fully sorted for that area. We've amended our milk train, so that's now running between New York and Baltimore. Oh no, we haven't amended it. Right, well, we're now going to. So we've already got this half of the journey, so the next thing it's going to do after New York is go back to Nolan Breeding, pick up some more milk, 8 carriages worth, and it's going to drop that in Baltimore. And then we can lay one more train, and this is going to go from Collins Estate to Baltimore. Whilst these trains are in their journey, we will quickly come back and double track these pieces so they don't get a conflict where they meet head on, or they end up like stopping on the main line and waiting for the wheat train to make this entire distance and blocking this whole station up in Baltimore. We will double track it, but we don't need to do that quite yet because these trains are going to take a month or two sort of whilst they're on their way. So this one's going to take wheat, 8 carriages worth, all the way down to Baltimore. It's going to use platform 2 in Baltimore. Ah, I forgot again that. Deary dear. And we're going to call this Baltimore Wheat. Add our locomotive, which we can't yet, we just need to save up a little bit more money. So I think that's pretty much going to be it for this episode. We are going to be doing the same thing with the veg here, and we'll set up a similar sort of looking set of junctions like this. Security guard again, right, so another security guard is going to improve our, give us a bonus to the freight, so we're going to go ahead and put this onto the next cattle train. Right, now can I get back to this? No, I'm going to have to set that line up again, I think, because I exited out of it before I added a locomotive, is that right? Or is it hidden in this list on the left? It was going to be called Baltimore Wheat. Ah, there we are. Add locomotive. So just a couple of seconds. Bit more cash roll in. Whilst we're waiting for that, let's just have a quick look. Is New York growing yet? Right, we've got enough money, so we'll pause. We're at 57%. We have crept up though, because we did start at 58,000, so we have seen some growth in New York. There's an industry slot here, so I expect that to get taken up soon. We're not going to be profiting from that quite yet, because we're probably going to be better spending our money getting up towards Albany. But we're only 1 month in, or a month and a half in. So that's what we're probably going to be doing next episode. So thanks again for watching, and take care. Bye bye.